Hello and welcome back to Content Collective. I'm Josh and today I'm going to bring you a book called The Four Agreements by the author Don Miguel Ruiz. Now this is a practical guide to personal freedom. This is a self-help book based off the teachings of the Toltec people. These are people that lived in Central America around the years 1000 to 1200. This is a tried and tested, simple formula of rules for you to follow to find love, freedom, happiness. Its whole thing is that your life is dictated by certain agreements that you make with yourself. It dictates how you see yourself, how you behave, and what's possible for you to achieve. Read this book, make the four agreements, and you have a cheat code to life. Today, I'm going to give you a brief overview of what those four agreements are, and if you like the sound of the book, there'll be a link below. Now, before we start, whilst in principle, the four agreements are quite a simple idea, it can be quite hard to implement in real life. I definitely struggle with them. So acknowledging them is the first step. You have to practice this over time in order for you to actually get that personal freedom. The first agreement, be impeccable with your word. And this can mean a few things. Firstly, it's about speaking with integrity. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Not only does this build trust with other people that you interact with, it builds a level of self-respect with yourself because you know you're not going to let yourself down. But it also means avoid using words that are negative towards yourself. Try to avoid saying things in your internal monologue that will give you negative conceptions of yourself. If you are impeccable with your word, your number one fan, your hype man, being positive in your internal monologue, you're going to have a much healthier relationship with yourself. By being impeccable with your word, you can also use your word for good. Use it to hype people up. Say nice things to people that deserve it. Stop gossiping. Stop spreading negativity. And lastly, it's just understanding that how much of an impact your words have on other people in general. So by being impeccable, you can make sure you are having a positive impact and you're not being negative. The second agreement is to not take anything personally. Now, this is one I probably struggle with the most. I could be a little bit sensitive. But with this comes the fact that you need to recognize that other people are viewing the world through their lens. Their words and actions are a reflection of how they see the world. So you should be able to depersonalize some of these interactions so it doesn't butt hurt so much. With this also comes the fact that you don't always need approval from everything. Taking things personally usually stems from needing external validation. So the agreement encourages people to find that internal validation and not rely on opinions of others for your self-worth. Another key one here is to just avoid unnecessary suffering. Every time we take something personally, we suffer. We're not happy. If you can recognize that people's actions aren't about you, it's about them, that can help limit the emotional toll that you feel from it. We need to understand that we don't need to internalize every external event. And by not taking things personally, we're then able to build up a resilience to any sort of emotional battery, which will ultimately leave you to preserve your inner peace. Basically being able to stay super calm, super chill, regardless of what people are saying. Don't take it personally. It is what it is. The third agreement is to not make assumptions. Again, this is another tough one. It's so easy to just assume what people mean or what they were thinking when they said something. And most of the case, we're wrong. Assumptions usually come from lack of proper communication. And if we aren't fully clear of what people mean, this agreement allows us to just ask more questions. Don't make that assumption. Ask the questions, make sure you fully understand what that is. And by doing that, we get better at communicating to the people we're speaking to, building better relationships. This rule will also stop us from misinterpretations. Basically, just don't jump to conclusions until you have all the information. Similar to the previous agreement as well, assumptions end up giving us unnecessary emotional stress. Again, if we are assuming this is what somebody meant by something they said, we're going to probably be negatively impacted by that. We can either seek clarity and actually understand what they meant by what they said, or just not take it personally and move on. And also by not making assumptions, it fosters people to be a bit more curious. If you're not assuming what's happened, you have to ask more questions to find out what's actually going on. The last agreement is to always try your best. This is all about committing to excellence. Committing to excellence in every aspect of your life. Basically, give your full effort and attention to every task that you're doing. Maybe I don't do it all the time. It is tough, but it is an agreement that we should be making with ourselves. But it's also about always doing your best. And your best might be different from other people's best. Everyone has their own unique strengths. So if you're able to just acknowledge your capacity, you shouldn't be so put down if you aren't performing as good as other people. It can also help get rid of the need for external validation. If you've tried your best internally and you know that you have done your best, you can be happy knowing that you've tried your best. Regardless of the outcome of the situation, you put everything, you left it all on the table. Basically, put mindful effort into the task at hand. Forget about how you may have done previously at different things. What is the thing you're doing now? Do your best at it. Be impeccable with that. Ultimately, this comes down to accountability. Doing your best is a personal responsibility. So this agreement really helps promote accountability. If you can take responsibility for your efforts, you're going to feel empowered by this. You're more likely to see personal growth as well. If you're not trying your best, not at the threshold of what you can do, then there's really not going to be any growth. So again, those 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. And always do your best. Again, they sound so simple when you say it like that. And in theory they are. But Don Miguel Ruiz says you follow these 4 agreements, you're going to have a much better life. Are you actively following any of these agreements? Do you have any other agreements that you're following or made promises with yourself to? Comment below and let me know. If you like the sound of that book, link is down in the description. Thank you for your time today. Catch you on the next video.